2, 1. What are you doing?
I'm turning my...
What are you doing?
I don't want it to start ringing in the middle of the episode.
You should have thought of that in the 45 minutes it took us to set this up.
45 minutes is an understatement.
So as you guys can see, me and Laith have been talking about trying to provide the viewers a little bit of consistency in what we do. Yet, we just haven't landed the look. You know, as you guys have already probably figured out at this point, this is done in the confines of my home in the living room.
Nobody had to know that.
I didn't give away my address.
That's true.
I just said it's... And I think at this point, people have figured out.
333 Bloor Street.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to all my Canadian friends. But yeah, so we were having this conversation on whether we should proceed or not, because we had a guest planning to come and then kind of got diverted. And then we took a decision to do it anyways, right?
We're doing it.
Yeah, we are.
I'm actually glad that we're actually moving forward with it. It's. I think we owe it to our fans. I think we owe it to ourselves. I think we can. It's nice to change it up every once in a while.
Yep. You had a little bit of concerns about our ability to kind of go through.
No, that's not true.
We had a whole argument about this. What do you mean it's not true? It is true.
It's not a concern that we can't hold it. I think it was just something different, that we needed some sort of structure. Although we're not for being scripted, we're raw, unedited.
Don't put me in a box.
Yeah, I agree. We avoid the box.
Big time.
I just felt like unprepared, completely unprepared for this.
That is what makes podcasting and this show so amazing, is to be unprepared. We have this opportunity to be unprepared. Let's put it that way, because usually we are prepared.
Yeah.
Right? And that was what I was asking, right? Is that we generally conduct it in an interview style, right? Most of the time with our guests, if they're interesting.
It's true.
Right? So I think
if they're interesting.
Did I just say that? Yeah, everyone we've had has been interesting.
For me, at least.
Oh, for sure.
For me,
I think
100%.
the feedback in general has been quite positive.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we do. But it's been...
But negative or positive, I think feedback is good overall. I think some people have certain opinions that don't coincide with our guests' opinions.
Yeah, is it the opinions or it's just the topics? I think people are just sometimes not interested in specific things, right?
For sure.
Do you think it's more with the opinions? We've had a couple that their opinions...
That's what I'm talking about.
Caught in question.
Yeah, where some people didn't want to see other people again or talk about the same thing again.
True.
You know?
True.
But at the end of the day, we're doing this not to please anybody. We're not doing this to satisfy anybody. At least for me. I'm doing this because I enjoy the companionship. It's just in general, me and you know, since we've been friends, we can talk for hours. And I think some people might find that entertaining, which is a bonus. But overall, I think it's been very therapeutic. It's been a great learning experience. And I look forward to continue doing this, wherever it goes.
I agree. By the way, speaking of wherever it should go, I'm going to look at the camera for this. Guys, I don't do it usually. I usually save it for the end. But no. You guys, hit the like button, subscribe, tell your friends, because we need this to keep building. It's been doing really well. We've been growing the viewership. We've been growing the subscribers, but we need to take it to the next level. So show us some support so that we can keep bringing in interesting guests and hit us up with some ideas of topics and stuff, man.
But I think maybe we should talk about where we think is the next level of this, so people understand why we're doing this. What's the end game? What's the I don't know if the strategy is the right word. I don't want to pull it in that direction, but it's more like, you know, why are we doing what we're doing?
Why are we doing a podcast? Interesting question. For you, what is it? I'm quite...
It goes along with what I was saying earlier, is that it's more of entertainment for me and a learning, an opportunity to learn from other people. It's something, not only recording the podcast, producing it, editing it. The other day, I just learned a new trick that just kind of I thought of. I'm like, is it possible to do this? And sure enough, I was able to achieve it. So it's just learning this new skill set. Is it going to generate more money? Is it going to get more subscribers? No, it's just the joy of learning something new and keeping your mind engaged outside of your day job or your responsibilities or what you have to do. It's more like something that I enjoy doing. Do I care if this becomes something that generates money? It would be nice to see that.
Yeah.
But that's not the main objective. That's not the main goal.
To be honest,
it's an outlet at the same time.
You've just raised the point, right? Like, so I'm just trying to think it through. So I've said it all from the beginning. We were saying that the reason why I kind of wanted to do it was like what you just said, right? More for the learning bit, more for the opportunity to sit with interesting people, may or may not be specialists in whatever they're doing, and give you an opportunity to sit and to have a conversation, not even conduct an interview, right? I don't want to call it an interview because that's not really what we try to do. And then I think of guests like Dr. Dan, right? Where I tell people, right, like, where else would we have had the opportunity to sit with an author, someone that's so distinguished in his field, and have a full hour, 100% attention and full on, engagement with. It doesn't happen, right? In general life, you rarely have those opportunities. What we're doing with this is we're creating that opportunity consistently, time and time again. And I think that's, for me, the biggest thing. In terms of the monetization or the making money, I look at that as a bonus. If it does happen, great. If it doesn't happen and we can keep doing this, right? I don't mind doing this consistently.
No. Yeah, and I was impressing you, but I was more nervous or just not knowing where this episode or this session is going to go. It's just that feeling of being uncomfortable or unprepared. I just learned something new, which I probably knew from before. It's just that sometimes when you put your mind and your drive towards something that you really care about, prepared or not prepared, sometimes it's just go with the flow, do it, and I'm enjoying it.
For sure.
I'm enjoying it. And like you said, there's a million topics we can talk about that we might find interesting. Some people might not find interesting. Some people might watch this a year from now.
Yeah.
And it might motivate them to do something that, they're just not sure if they should do it or not. And hopefully it does that.
Yeah, without sitting there and trying to preach to the people, but I think it is a labor of love, right? At the end of the day, like, we're at this point not really trying to make this into a career. It would be, again, we said nice, but ultimately this is just something that we both thought we'd enjoy to do. And I think that's the key element. Now on the more important stuff about things to talk about, right? And we were saying the UFC's coming.
To Abu Dhabi. Yeah.
So they've actually already arrived, most of the fighters. They're going to be 5 weeks, 4 events, 2 crazy events, right? And I'm just excited to talk to you about this because this is something that you really enjoy as well.
I do. The one thing that, when I think about it, and it's almost, if you had told me, if this is not COVID times, and you said the UFC is coming to Abu Dhabi and there's going to be 4 main events here,
exactly.
I'd go crazy.
Yeah,
I'd go crazy. I'd be sitting in Abu Dhabi and try to get as much live experience as possible. Having to just watch it on TV is kind of like a bummer.
It's kind of painful.
But I'll tell you what, I've experienced UFC live.
Which event?
GSP.
Great.
In Toronto. Was it Toronto? Yeah, it was Toronto. And then another one in Montreal. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while back. And I have to say,
it's much better on TV.
Yes and no. It depends where you sit. Because where I was seated, you can call them nosebleeds. Not so much nosebleeds, but because of the way the octagon is set up, my field of vision, the top of the octagon was blocking the fighters' heads. So I was literally watching it on TV, on the big screen. Now, the feeling that you get from the fans and everybody going crazy, that's an experience on its own. But I've always said, because of how advanced sports coverage now is in today's world. The repeats, the analysis, the commentary, minus the commercial breaks. It's a completely different experience. It's a lot more immersive.
Of course.
When you're watching it at home.
Especially in something so close contact, right? Like that's the issue with fighting.
Yeah.
Right? Is that that's why the commentators watch it on a screen, not like they're rarely, if you see they're between a screen. So like a Joe Rogan will be between looking at a screen that he has in front of him as well as looking at the fight. Because there's things that you're going to miss if you're looking at it from a distance.
Yeah.
So
Khabib and Gaethje. Who do you think? Who do you think? Predictions.
I think it's a really tough one because I think Gaethje honestly has the edge on him standing up. And I think Gaethje is a world-class wrestler. So I think he could stand a very legitimate chance at keeping it on its feet and catching Khabib. So I think he does a good job of preventing Khabib to enforce his will, and at the same time has the element of a good enough stand-up game where he could break him down. Not necessarily knock him out with one punch, but could really, dismantle him slowly. That being said, I am a Khabib fan. And I like to think that this guy is just indestructible, right? And we know in fighting, at some stage, everyone gets beaten. But I think, truly, I think it's the hardest test, the toughest test for sure, without a doubt, for Khabib. But I still think he comes through with it.
I think he's going to mop the floor with him.
Interesting.
Khabib is going to just
maul him,
demolish him. I think, like you said, Gaethje is, and I see kind of a lot of similarities to Conor.
With Gaethje?
Yeah. That he's good stand-up.
Way better stand-up than...
Yeah, but Gaethje's better on the ground.
Yeah, and wrestling, and stronger.
Yeah.
It's just...
But I think Khabib is just going to...
Yeah, Khabib, look, everyone says that he just has unreal strength.
He's elusive, and it's hard to submit him. I don't think anybody's taken him down.
I would highly doubt anyone's taken him down. I think he's lost only one round ever.
Yeah,
in all of his fights.
But his, coming from his father passing away, he might be emotionally shook up.
Yeah.
But I still think he'd see this. I usually go for the underdogs. But I think Khabib.
Why do you go for the underdogs?
I don't like the super cheesy, force top dog. I don't know. I've always gone for the underdog.
You know me, I'm always about. I love the Floyd Mayweather talk shit.
I'm always rooting for the smaller guy.
Well, then you would have hated Muhammad Ali, right? Because that's why people used to go watch Muhammad Ali. Used to hate him.
Growing up as a huge basketball fan, Jordan was the top. I was never a big fan of the Bulls. Yes, they're great. They're amazing.
You wouldn't draw out the Bulls emblem everywhere?
And now, especially with the Lakers. I'm so dying for Miami and LA to be in the finals and Miami winning it. Although that's probably not highly unlikely.
Is Miami up on Boston? To be honest, I kind of lost track
2-1? Miami? 2-1 Miami.
2-1 Miami.
Let's pull it up.
It's 2-0 Lakers. With Anthony Davis' sick buzzer beater. Put them up 2-0.
Did you see the celebration after when he knocked down his...
Yeah.
It's hilarious. NBA Finals. Yeah, I think it's 2-1 for Miami.
Look, man, LeBron is just gonna... I think he's gonna take it and just cement himself.
The whole team. The whole freaking team, man.
They just put one... It's just one person. Anthony Davis.
Yeah, that's
he just needed one other person to kind of support him.
Green is shining with his threes.
Green, yeah, he is.
He slept during our playoffs. He was sleeping during the Raptors win last year, but I think that was a great move. Sorry, we diverted. Okay, and then after that is Israel Adesanya with
Costa. Super interesting.
This one I'm conflicted.
By the way, do you think he's on juice?
For sure.
They test them. They keep testing them. You don't think genetics?
Sure.
A little bit of genetics.
It's like that other Brazilian guy, the jacked guy, the guy who got his sister got murdered a lot back in the day. I have to pull him up. He was jacked.
Brazilian?
Yeah, Brazilian.
Or you're talking about Yoel Romero?
No. I'll tell you.
Interesting. But yeah, like, I don't know. I look at Costa. Yeah, I'm on the fence. I don't know. He could be juiced.
I like
Israel.
I
don't know. I'm talking about juice right now.
Yeah.
Oh, as a fight, I'm a huge fan of Israel.
Vitor Belfort.
Yeah, Vitor Belfort was juiced up. Yeah, when he was jacked. Yeah. And then what is his name? He destroyed Michael Bisping's eye.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks. They should charge him. Like, he literally has a glass eye because of a fight that he had with a guy that was cheating. No, it was just
because he was jacked. This is before USADA was in?
No, it was this weird time frame where they allowed hormone replacement therapy for some of the fighters if they could prove, for whatever reason, that they had low testosterone. The funny thing is that low testosterone generally happens in athletes that have previously taken steroids, right?
Because it drops.
So somehow he gamed the system and they allowed him to take these hormones. And yeah, he got freaky. If you guys want to refer to that fight, like, you see him in that fight and then see him, like, I think it was 1 or 2 fights later, he's half the person once USADA decided to start cracking down at it. It was pretty wild.
So yeah, Vitor Belfort's sister was kidnapped, and they never found her.
What?
Yeah.
Recently?
No. This was back in 2004.
While he was a fighter?
While he was a fighter, yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Were they kidnap him for the money, or is it just kidnap as kidnap?
Unknown. I think recently there was something in the news about they I believe they arrested somebody. Yeah, there it is. So his sister was kidnapped 2004, never seen again. Latest string of arrests.
That's pretty wild. That is pretty wild. So that's unreal. In Rio, in Brazil.
So allegedly, it's bad. Her body had never been found, and they believe it was burnt and buried. But they never found it. Or her.
Brutal.
Yeah. Brazil is a rough place, but such a beautiful, beautiful country. Rio is gorgeous. It's one of the most.
I'm in between. Like, I must say, media, movies have influenced me to have a little bit of hesitation when I look at South America in general. Like, I think Argentina is super safe. But yeah, man, all these things that you hear about kidnappings and the drug gangs, and I think it's just blown out of proportion.
It is. I mean, I've told you my story where I've somehow ended up in the favela, which is something stupid for somebody like me just to show up and be there. It's just you have to have situational awareness. You have to know where you are and where you're going. There, like I said, to visit as a tourist, Rio, you can have the most beautiful experience and not interact with any of those issues. And, a couple of kilometers away, you can be in the middle of the favela and there's, gang rivals going at each other where you can get chopped, killed. You can get, while I was there, I heard about a doctor in a neighborhood that was close to where I was staying. He got jacked for a bicycle. He got killed. He shot in the face for a bicycle. So
that's the kind of stuff you hear when you go out to South Africa as well.
But I could say that about Iraq. I could say that about most of the third, not most of the third world countries, but somewhere in Africa, Mozambique, you can literally get chopped up into pieces. Yeah. Nothing against Mozambique or any of those countries, but like I said, it's just being smart where you are and doing your research.
Yeah, I agree. The situational awareness is a big thing, I think, but that's just general street smarts, right? I think you just have to be a little bit alert.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be flashy. Make sensible decisions. Don't go riding your bicycle at 3 a.m.
Definitely not.
Well, unless you're in Dubai, and then it's cool.
Unless you're in Dubai, you literally.
One of the things that I love about Dubai, man, is just safety, right? Like, it's just unbelievable.
Absolutely.
I was thinking, man. So we were eating, guys. I want to get people's opinion on this because you put your hand near my food, right? So I actually ate McDonald's, right? I haven't eaten McDonald's in a while, and Laith came. And he put out his arm and tried to grab my French fries.
Attempted.
Of course attempted. Unacceptable.
Is it only, and I'm the same way too, like, don't touch my fries. Is it with specific type of foods?
No, all foods. Until I'm done, or unless I am
Here's some scraps.
Giving away food. All right. No one has the right to touch my food. Even my kids get in trouble.
Yeah. My dad knows that too. He's told that story to many of my friends. Like, yeah, don't touch Laith's food. Because like, hey, Dad, back in the day when I used to live at home when I was a teenager or even younger, I'd make the most elaborate cold cut sandwich, pickles on the side.
What did you put? What's your go-to dream cold cut sandwich?
Turkey.
Just turkey?
Turkey with some cheese, with some lettuce, tomatoes.
What type of cheese? I want details, man.
Anything that's available. The cheddar, Gouda. Yeah. Any of the regular cheese. Nothing special. But it has to be fresh. The toast, the bread is toasted, crispy on the outside.
Regular toast or like a brioche or like a...
I don't discriminate.
You don't discriminate.
Yeah. Rye breads, brioche toast. I don't get too fancy. Just keep it simple. Nice and warm, crispy.
I like it.
Dad, do you want a sandwich? No, I'm good. All right.
Then he comes.
I make my elaborate plate with some chips on the side, a little, come sit down. It's like, that looks interesting.
No.
You're not touching that. I told you I can make you one, but I always end up giving him some.
Yeah. That's my wife does the same thing. All the time. Like even when we're like, say for example, we're gonna order something and I tell you hungry. She says, no, I'm fine. You sure? I'm fine. I'll order you something. No, I'm fine. Okay, I'm gonna get something. Are you sure? And then she'll, as soon as it comes, what did you get?
What is it about human nature for that?
Yeah. By the way, I'm guilty of doing it with people.
Oh, you just what did the other day you ate my?
I'll snatch.
I peeled the chocolate, the candy. Right, it was the candy on Friday.
Yeah, you took it out of the wrapper.
It was a double wrapped candy. It was a difficult one. Peel it. I'm about to. He's like, yeah,
but that's different because there's like a jar full of candies. So it wasn't like you're gonna run out of candy, and it wasn't your dedicated candy jar.
Get your own candy.
You just wanted me to work for my.
It just looked better when I opened it.
That's probably has a lot to do with it.
I get it.
Has a lot to do with it. You see, we have some new friends here. Look at that.
And I think they're very culturally appropriate.
It's pretty balanced.
I think so.
It's pretty balanced. You see, like at the center of our universe.
That's kind of
is Colonel Sanders. No, at the center of my universe is Colonel Sanders, always and forever. I like it. Tupac's looking all slick, gangster.
Jordan,
North Carolina, and then obviously we got our representatives here. Who do you like?
Batman's just looking crazy.
I'm just trying to think now. You know that thing that everyone says, like, if you could have dinner or lunch or a conversation with anyone in the world ever, who would it be? Alive or dead? Historical or fresh? Anything, anyone. Not a comic book character, so scratch that. Not like real people.
A person that existed.
Yeah.
Or past, present, future?
Future. Now you're going some like fourth dimension. Me in 20 years?
Exactly.
That'd be so weird.
But that answers all your lifelong, right? Journeys.
Did you have fun?
I see myself a week before my death. Or, a day before my death.
Then you'd know when you're going to die.
But that would suck.
Yeah, then you'd know when you're going to die and you'd be looking for it.
Or see myself at a younger age and have influence on my future self. That's some like fifth dimension.
That'd be like cheating. That's cheating. Then I'd be like, the first thing I'd do is like, do you know 1999, Lotto 649, the 6 numbers were blah, 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 blah. See you later.
Yeah. Make sure you cash in before 2020.
Yeah, exactly. But so what is it? Who would it be?
It's a tough one. I can't think of one.
Let's assume this conversation can happen in Canada.
Why Canada?
You seriously asking the question? You want me to ask that question?
Sure.
Why in Canada?
Yeah, why Canada?
Canada has certain laws that are
okay.
Yeah, so that kind of adds
You
to
can
the
drive.
dynamic.
You can drive when you're 16 years old.
True. Who would it be? Okay, you know what? Rather than one person, let's say three. 3 people. So I can give you a little bit of selection. Me for sure, like 100% Bob Marley. My geeked outside, like it's a person that's still alive now, but it's kind of old, is Noam Chomsky. Amazing writer, thinker. He's just unbelievable. He's like 93 now. I'd love to have him on the podcast. The only problem I would have is that it would be a real challenge to engage him in a serious conversation because he's just so smart.
When you ask me that question, I almost think, okay, why would I want to see that person? Because there's so many that come to mind. The one of the things that would push me in that direction is what impact would that conversation have on myself or humanity? So if it's just for myself, I'd talk to one of these guys, Jordan, for example.
That'd be cool.
It'd be cool, but
just be, I'm thinking, I'm not like, I know that me and Jordan wouldn't get on. That's why I wouldn't. I don't think.
Yeah, he tends to be a bit of a, he's not a dick. It's just he's somewhere else. Like he's on the next level. Part of me would be like, I would want to talk to somebody that's had a massive impact on humanity after they had passed away or whatever they did.
Nikola Tesla.
Bigger than that. One of the prophets, maybe.
Cool.
Not to be religious, but just to kind of, it would help me understand, like, okay, do we still have the story correct? Is it true? Or is this just a story?
Interesting.
Is it just a figment? Like, you meet Moses, for example.
Yeah.
Like, did you really part to the sea? Like, was that real? Like,
by the way, in Islam, is that story part of our stories?
Yeah, of course.
He did part the sea.
Yeah.
So he does that across all books.
Yeah, and he saved the people to cross the Nile, I believe.
Yeah, it is the Nile.
It is.
Yeah.
No, that's part of
Islam as well.
Yeah.
So that's cross book.
Yeah.
Miracle action.
I was listening to a podcast. You just reminded me of something completely off topic. So a little bit of ADD. Part of the religious studies, you hear about these prophets going into a cave somewhere, and they come out with a revelation.
Yeah.
I was listening to an interview with the guy from On It, Marcus, Aubrey.
Yeah.
Aubrey Marcus?
Aubrey Marcus, yeah.
Or Marcus, Aubrey Marcus.
Marcus Aubrey, maybe.
Something like that. Anyways. And he talks about this meditation where they go into a dark room, pitch dark, for 7 days.
Do they eat?
Yeah, so they get food brought to them from another dark room, so no light comes in. Completely no light. 0 light.
Does your eye adjust to that?
So he says the revelations and the hallucinations and the visions and the thoughts that come through your mind, he's like it's like a DMT trip.
I can believe that.
On that level.
I can believe that. Like a lot of people with those isolation tanks, a lot of people struggle with that. I've never done it.
And they do it for an hour.
I would love to do it. By the way, do you know any place in Dubai?
Yeah, they do have it. There's like a couple of places that have it.
Like a true isolation.
Yeah. Deprivation tanks. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I would love to do that.
Let's do it. They have packages, single or multiple.
If anyone knows the name of a really good place that you recommend, put it out there for us. Or send us DM us. I'd love to check it out.
But yeah. Do you see the parallels? So, the story that we've heard of a prophet going,
Yeah, it could be. We know it could be for sure.
They see an angel. And I'm not saying it's not a true story. It might be true, not debunking religion, but it's very interesting to see that within our DNA, we have that. Anybody can do that. If you're willing to go sit in a dark room for 7 days and isolate yourself. Tim Ferriss does this where he doesn't speak for 2-3 days. That's another form of meditation.
Yeah, the monks do that stuff as well, right?
Yeah.
Their silence
And he says it's one of the hardest things. You go crazy when you can't speak.
I speak to myself all the time.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do.
I think everybody does. I think it's healthy.
That's what Dr. Dan was saying, right? When
Yeah.
we had him on, he said that kind of self-reflection, looking at yourself from a third person, is quite normal. It's quite healthy.
Yeah. So yeah, I would probably talk to somebody that's had a massive impact on humanity, just to learn.
Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan would be an interesting one. Like, what's wrong with you? What's your end game? You know, do you see
He just wanted to rape and pillage and burn and conquer.
Is that evil?
Power. I think it's that power trip, man. He just went on a power trip. A lot of people, I don't know. I can see some of the attraction of power, but I don't see it being the most important thing. I guess it's really hard unless you're in it to understand that feeling. You must feel some euphoric feeling that every person that sees you acts nice to you, shows you all this attention, and that kind of feels, it's kind of like a celebrity, right? But a celebrity where you have an edge where you could destroy them. You know what I mean? Think of that.
Yeah. And the more you have, the more you want. It's one of those things.
It's like those typical, the stories of like dictators that are given an opportunity to walk away. Like, yo, just walk away. You can take your money. This place offers them asylum, and they don't. And it doesn't work well for them. Like, I never understood that. Like, yo.
Yeah.
Is it because they're so sheltered they can't see what's happening around them? Or
I think that has to do a lot with it.
They're getting misinformed from their yes men around them. Like, yo, it's cool. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
The crazy part is history continues to repeat itself.
Without a doubt. That's natural. This is what's happening now with the money thing. That's what I was trying to get. We're still trying to get. One of the guests, again, we've done one on Bitcoins. But I found out that there's a book called The Bitcoin Standard, which everyone refers to as being one of the best books around not just Bitcoin specifically, but about the history of money and fiat currency and the gold standard. And I'm still kind of going through it. And it was written by a Lebanese scholar by the name of Saifuddin. His last name gone away from me. Anyways, I find it to be really intriguing because it is literally history repeating itself consistently. So we're not in the first cycle of an abused currency where it gets flooded or printed and has no value and collapses and creates economic hardships, and then a new standard comes out, and so on and so forth and so on and so forth. And essentially it's the same markers, the same experiences, and we consistently historically keep doing it. And it's the reason why we keep doing it is because we're addicted to money, we're addicted to power, we're addicted to wealth, we're addicted to, you know what I mean? So we just kind of ignore. And I don't know if it's a delusion element, because we were having the conversation with Hamdi as well. And a lot of the bankers and a lot of the people in finance seem to have this feeling that it's just a ride that will last forever. And that's why I was thinking with this guy, Saifuddin, it would be great to have him on because he has a totally different perspective. He's an economist as well, obviously. And I think it would be really cool to kind of get a different vibe, because that really stresses on me right now. I know you're like, meh.
It's one of those things that, yes, I'm interested in knowing about it, but I feel like it's something that you have no control over, and you're at the mercy of the people regulating it or the people that are in control of it.
True. I look at it like that. I agree. There's a huge element of lack of control, but I think there's a lot that we can do as people to ensure that we come out personally in a better position. And I think that's why I'm so concerned, right? So it's like preserving wealth, ensuring that you have something to give to your kids, to your family in the future. Because honestly, I feel as though we're going through a extremely critical time that if you take your eyes off the road or this path that we're going down, things can turn really quickly. Like I think we're literally on that. I don't want to be doom and gloom.
That's the part that I'm like,
yeah, but there are proactive steps. The point that I'm trying to make is that if you understand what's happening, you can then understand what things you can do to mitigate or reduce that impact on you.
True. But don't you feel sometimes, and I'm not trying to disregard it, but the opposite of that. It's more like a part of me says, okay, you take all these precautionary measures, which is something that everybody should do.
Mm-hmm.
But who's like, for example, the stock market. It makes no sense. We're going through what we're going through right now as an economy. And the market, the stock market is the highest it's ever been.
But it does make sense. That's what I mean. I think if you look into it, and this is what I'm saying is when you speak to people like this, or, I spend a lot of energy reading on this and watching a lot of people that are experts that understand. It does make sense that printing money endlessly and that money is not reaching the people. That money is reaching the corporations. That money is not filtering down to Main Street. It's going straight to corporates. And that is the reason why in this current situation, probably the worst international economic situation that we've seen in our lifetimes for sure, and could be debatably the worst in recent history. And the stock market's at an all-time high, although that's being corrected right now, but there and abouts. So it had reached an all-time high, which is just honestly unbelievable. And that's what, again, bothers me, because these kind of things have happened before. It's not the first time, but it's this consistent mass delusion. Or it's that
sentiment.
It's the sentiment, but I think it's also a lot of people that are just kind of disregarding it. Like, meh, whatever happens, happens. I think it's that also. That thing kind of allows it to carry forward even more. We don't check the people and then everyone gets damaged. It's really interesting. Really, really interesting. On another note, talking about doom and gloom, but on another note, I was speaking to Armand Duri, and I was telling him that we need to bring him on since the new football season has started. I know you're not a football fan.
I love these topics.
Yeah, you're not feeling it. You don't like, man, you got to get into football. Tell me, what are you into right now?
I'm not a big sports type of guy where, you guys watch a football game and you can name every player and the formation and what did the coach. I can't keep up with that. I just don't have the interest or the capacity to continue to follow, and I've just never been that guy. Basketball, it appealed to me as a sport, and it's something that, from a strategy standpoint, performance standpoint, I can get it. And it's a sport that I relate to. Football, I enjoy it. I'll watch a football game, I will enjoy it, and I will appreciate the skill level. But to be that connected to it where, oh, did you hear the coach of so and so? Yeah, and
sorry, like that with the NBA though. So now with the NBA, not even.
No. I don't care who's the manager, who's the owner, and who bought the team, and
trades and all of that.
Basic form. Yeah. This is the game. These are the players. Yeah, I can see him. He's a great player. I mean, I don't even go as level as college basketball. There's some.
I'm not into. I never understood. That's a very American thing.
And it's a
massive business.
Yeah,
and they're fighting for the right to get paid, and I think they should. If their schools are making,
of course,
hundreds of millions. Yeah. Like for a lot of people to understand this that aren't close to American sports. For example, American football, the stadiums that the college teams have are significantly larger. If I'm not mistaken, the Rose Bowl is a stadium that hosts some like 100,000 people, and it's sold out, and people just
is it Kansas? Does Kansas have any real football, NFL or basketball, or they don't, right? But look at their KSU.
No, but they have
I might be wrong.
Kansas City Chiefs. They just won. They just won the NFL. Actually,
they do.
With Mahomes.
See, that's how bad I am with these things.
Yeah.
But there's some cities. My point is that there's some cities that their college teams or university teams are far more
100%.
important or attendance than.
Like I said,
major leagues.
I think if people really look into it, I think some of these college teams. I'm pretty sure some of these college teams are more profitable than the professional teams.
Yeah.
Like they earn more money through merchandising, through selling tickets to these fanatical students who attend these schools and then become alumni and still support those teams. So it's just like you're just churning out a never endless stream.
Lifelong fans
outside of just external fans. So I knew a few Canadians that were supporting.
And zero payout to the players.
Exactly. Which is massive.
Yeah. Advertising.
It's everything. TV rights, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable.
It's nuts.
I would, it's pretty crazy.
Jordan wearing North Carolina.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Unbelievable. Tupac, man, I miss him. Do you think Tupac would still be putting out good music? Are you a Tupac fan?
Of course. Of course.
More than Biggie? That natural debate. That's a debate of the 90s. That's a 90s debate. Tupac or Biggie?
Biggie has more of a soft spot for me because I've for some reason I related more to Biggie.
Much more violent, hardcore hip hop.
Yeah. And he didn't try to be politically correct at all. Like in your face. That's it. Tupac was more of a social activist in a way.
Amazing.
And it's great. What he did was great.
It's so
pioneer.
Yeah. What's interesting for me with Tupac is that I've learned to enjoy Tupac much more as I got older because of the messages that he puts out.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
and I think that's what it is.
Extremely smart. And what's unbelievable, man, they both died. They're 25.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Well, another one, Nipsey.
Really good. Amazing.
Yeah. He would have been just, I don't say if he was just as good as Tupac, but died too soon. Way too soon.
Gun violence. Yeah. Talking about racial inequality, systematic racism. I don't know if we want to get into that right now. Save that for another. You know what? That's another would be interesting guest, man. We could bring some people from the US around that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a topic that's not openly discussed in this region.
In the standard sense, it is spoken about, but we mostly speak about it from a distance. So we generally speak about it in other contexts rather than at ourselves.
What do you mean?
We don't look at our interaction with racism. Rather, we will commentate on racism that's happening elsewhere.
The thing is here, I wouldn't call it systematic racism. In the US, it's more deep-rooted, for 300 years or more. And you're talking about even as Americans, they're not even the true natives of that land. So it's multi-layered over there. And I think it's a way bigger issue in the States or in the Western world than it is here. I don't know. It's a tough one.
I'll put this out there. I think that this is in a broad sense I'm talking. So I'm not talking specifically about here or anywhere else. But
here we say the Arab region.
Yeah, in general, I think we're more subscribed to a caste system. So it's not, we don't discriminate necessarily on color.
Mm-hmm.
We discriminate on your place in society. It's almost elitist kind of thing. So wealthy, educated, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't really matter how you look like or where you're from, but that's how we like to categorize. So it's a kind of different kind of prejudice. Wouldn't necessarily call it racism. It's more prejudice towards elitist. Elite. Yeah, it's an elitist, I don't say culture. I'm just trying to say this as carefully as possible, not to be misconstrued or to misexpress myself. But yeah, I think it's a different kind of approach than the standard racism. I was just telling you about, it's an amazing analogy, and it just kind of really resonated with me is around this whole monopoly paradox. And I was just saying it to you before we jumped on. Basically, I think it's a very simple way to kind of explain the issue of what systemic racism is and what they call white privilege is, right? So you say you have 4 players playing, let's say 6 players playing Monopoly. 4 players start playing. They start $200, own nothing, go about. They play for 7, 8, 9, 10 rounds. They've accumulated properties, bought Broadway, whatever, Mayfair. They've built homes on them. They've built hotels on them. And then those other 2 players start the game with $200.
Can you jump in the middle of Monopoly?
No,
you can't.
No, and that's the reason why, right? Is that you would join and you would be out very quickly.
Yeah.
Right? And that, I think, is a very good representation of what it is in terms of white privilege.
Yeah.
And not necessarily systemic racism, because racism almost sounds like an action.
Yeah.
Right? Like something is being done. But this is just, it's done already. It's just there. And because it's there, you're just kind of like a massive uphill battle. And I think that's a very interesting analogy. And kind of, like I said, resonated with me because it just, that's a serious issue. And how do you resolve it? And you were saying that, like, okay, so what's the resolution?
Listen, I don't think all humans are made equal. I think people should come to terms with that.
Okay, that's a very strong statement. Now I'm going to ask you to back that up with or just kind of clarify on that.
Okay, so let's talk about genders, right?
Okay.
Forget color, race, background, religion.
So, okay, do you think there's a difference between races?
No.
Okay.
That's not the deciding factor.
Okay. But gender, there's a clear
advantage and
like
disadvantage.
even muscle mass, there's scientific things that kind of separates it, right?
Physical ability, intelligence. I think some people
intelligence, female, male.
No, again, not related to race. I just broadly,
race or gender.
Broadly overall.
Well, look, there's smart people and stupid people. Not like stupid people. There are smart and less smart people. And that's IQ test can just do that, right? Like you just run a couple of IQ tests.
And that's the thing. You can have twins separated at birth, brought up differently in different environments. Do you think they'll still score the same way on an IQ test?
Unbelievable you just said that, because I just partially watched.
Saw the triplets. It's insane.
You watched it?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It's insane.
Sick.
It's insane. It's sick that they separated them and they did this study.
Disturbing. So for anyone that doesn't know, I don't know what the name of the documentary is. Something Strangers.
Yeah.
So it's a story about these
crazy
triplets that run into each other. So they were adopted. Each were adopted from different families.
3 identical strangers.
They were adopted from 3 different families. They end up meeting randomly in New York. So one goes to school, and at the school they think it's his brother, and then a person that knows his brother comes, and so on. And anyways, the point being is they end up meeting up with each other. They end up having a lot of similarities. Same taste in women, smoke the same cigarettes, they all wrestle, they finish each other's sentence, all the stuff. But then what starts to become disturbing is they find out later that the adoption agency,
they were social experiments.
Were social experiments. Yeah. So they had separated or put these kids in different homes based on financial wealth.
Mm-hmm.
So one that was lower class, middle class, and higher class, or well off.
Yeah.
And they were running tests, so they were coming and following up with these kids.
It's almost like Nazi-like mentality.
And it was, interestingly enough, a Jewish foundation, which shocked me even more. Like, these were people that were involved or had experienced the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And they were sitting there running these kind of experiments. And even the people involved. And it turned out that they had done this with like 8 or 9 different sets of people.
They don't know there's probably more.
It's
Without any spoilers,
unbelievable.
It goes to show that because their fates ended up being differently at the end.
The only thing that was across the board was they all were disturbed at the end. They all had serious depression, mental kind of challenges because of that.
Because of the separation, or because they found out that they were separated. So let's say they never met. Let's just say they never met.
No, they already had those underlying issues in terms
because
of separation anxiety, for sure. Disturbing.
Okay, so let's not use the twins as an example. The point I was trying to say is that, do you think two people that have the same genetics, the same DNA, and not traumatized by separation, but in different nurturing experience?
Well, that's always the conversation that they say, right? Nurture versus nature.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. So that's why I go back to, not all people are created equally, irrelevant of race, culture, gender. So you can't. This is what I hate, and I'm guilty of it too. Is that we tend to generalize a lot. Is that I'm just gonna say some stupid stereotypes that I don't believe in. Chinese people don't know how to drive. I think it just becomes more prevalent because media pushes it, that you think Chinese people don't know how to drive. In the US, Democrats and Republicans are deeply separated. The US is deeply divided. That's just the media telling you that. You can go to any bar or any restaurant, and I guarantee you find one thing that brings them together. Call it sports. They're watching a football game, and you'll have a Democrat and a Republican sitting next to each other. They'll tease each other. But they're different in their beliefs.
I would tell you, look, Anya, just to your point, I would say definitely, I feel as definitely the nurture element has a significantly more impact to a lot of the things.
I agree.
Right? I think, just to come to your statement, I don't think people are created equally. I think in many respects people are. I do agree with, there are some physical differences between genders.
Not one is better than the other.
Not one is better than the other. I think there are different physical elements between a tall person and a short person. Like, for example, a short person with shorter arms can definitely I used to trip me out when I used to go to the gym. They can lift more. And it has to do with, just look at the angles, right, of your elbow in relation to your chest when you're pushing. So just things like that. So I think there are elements where there is genetic differences. But when it comes to things like IQ and knowledge, that's where I think it gets sketchy. Like, I think, yes, it's much more nurture.
Yeah.
Much more nurture. I don't think there's a separation of, there's one superior race or whatever. That's just bullshit. Like, that's just nonsense. Complete and utter nonsense.
Yeah. Because the whole idea of racism in the States. Okay. There were slave traders or slave owners, which were white people. The descendants of those white people are now advocating for equality. It's the same genetics. It's the same DNA that's passed along. Does that mean all white people are racist?
No.
Right? It's nurture. Eventually, through time and education and mixing of cultures, as a species, we're just becoming more aware of these things, and we'll continue to hopefully evolve to a better. I always wonder, like, if aliens ever landed on or saw us as a species, we're the only species that builds sophisticated systems and weaponry that can annihilate us completely. We can go extinct tomorrow with the press of a button. What other species does that?
Yeah.
And we're the most intelligent.
Well, that's it. We are the most intelligent. We're the only ones that have a conscious,
but are we?
kind of thought that we know of. There could be like aliens and stuff, but on this earth, Yeah, I think we've proven that we're the
superior
we're the top
species.
dog.
Yeah. But at the same time, with that comes a huge risk where we could literally.
Yeah, but I have confidence in humanity, man.
Me too. I'm not trying to be gloomy about it, but
you just like kill everyone, one button. But
no, I'm just trying to say is that
it's a trip.
It's
there are some bad apples. Let's
definitely
put it out there.
Definitely.
There's some bad apples for sure.
Will we ever get to a point where we're not gonna have systematic?
I think yes. I think we.
I'd love to see that day.
Transcend 1,000 years from now, 2,000, 5,000 years from now, when Elon Musk implants those chips in all of our brains. By the way, today is September 22nd, which is Battery Day. So 1:30 Pacific time, they'll be hyping up their evolution of batteries from a wet slurry to a dry. That's some of the things that they're saying. More efficient production. I think, man, I'm telling you, I get super excited when I think about, forget about just Tesla. I just think about that technology. Like, just imagine
the Neuralink,
the self-driving electric vehicles, the Robo Taxi, which he also wants to do. Which, by the way, for people that don't know, Robo Taxi basically is, we use our cars, whoever owns a car, you use it about 30% maybe of the time at best. So imagine what he's trying to do is create an Uber kind of situation, except it's self-driving. So when you come home or when you're in the office, rather than it just sitting there, you could actually
lease it or have it.
Have it go out and pick and drop people off, and you make money in that way, which is just a wild concept, but and that, by the way, is a theme that he has across, which just makes a lot of sense. So the other one he has is power bank, which basically is you have power, solar panels, and you store those power in your home, and then you re-provide it back to the grid, and in turn, you get paid for it. So essentially, it will potentially transform energy all around.
You know, I'm a big fan of tech. I'm a big fan of technology, and I always get giddy about these things. I think the last conference I attended before all of this COVID happened last year, I attended a City as a Lab conference in Slovenia, where all these topics and all these concepts of how the future will look like, car as a service, they're looking at the whole concept of changing the idea of ownership of a car, where people no longer own a car. It's like a service.
And that's it.
What worries me is that we're living in a world that's completely dependent on technology. Everything's being robotized, digitized, and it's great. It's freeing up time. So that's one of the things they talk about. The future of mobility. Why do we want self-driving cars? What's wrong with the current situation? Is that you solve a lot of problems: traffic, accidents, congestion, fuel consumption, better for the environment, all. But you as a driver, well, how does it frees up time for you? So you're no longer sitting behind the wheel having to drive.
You're sitting in the back seat.
You can do something else.
Reading the newspaper or watching TV.
But don't you see how fragile that is when we become so dependent on... All it takes is, and I don't want to be on that doom and gloom side of the conversation, but one single solar flare strong enough, an EMP will wipe out the whole entire grid. Elon Musk is launching 50,000 satellites into orbit to give internet to everybody. That's a great initiative, but you know what that's going to do to our just around the Earth, like the debris, and just like astronomers are now going to start complaining, saying we can't even see stars because all these satellites are in space. It's great.
Everything has a positive and a negative. I cannot see technology and the way that we're going as being more negative than positive.
Not negative. No. It's 100% positive. I'm with it. But a part of me still feels like one day we're going to have to go get back on that horse.
Get out of here. Screw the horse. On that note, we're going to end this. Because Laith had to touch that sensitive subject of the horses. Fuck the horses. By the way, Hassan, after we had him on, he sent me a video the next day where he was with his horses.
Did you see the video I sent you about the guy standing in front of?
Stupid. Thanks, Laith. That was pretty cool, man. We just had a long, deep conversation.
We can do it.
We can do it for sure. I told you.
I believe you.
See?
I believe you.
Check it. Subscribe it. Show us some love.
We out.